I come before the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, the governor among the nations, the one that created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit moved upon the face of the waters, waiting for the word to go forth. And the word went forth. Shall I minister unto the people, and there shall not be evidence of the ministration? Shall I say one thing, another thing will happen? That which I say will happen. Something is making me to say it. After the fire comes the favor. After the trauma comes the triumph. After the grief comes the glory. God is just. Lord, and this word shall hold to the letter.
December 25 is called Christmas Day, and it is celebrated all over the Christian world as the birthday of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. The celebration is so popular among Christians of today that majority don't stop to ask any questions concerning this age-long ceremony. But because of who we are, the Lord has raised up this movement to bring back Jacob that has strayed afar from God. Bring Jacob, the church, back to God. And if we must bring Jacob back to God, we must have ourselves first come back to God. Because you cannot give what you don't have. Today, we want to ask questions that hardly cross the mind of multitudes in Christendom. We want to ask the following questions. Does Christmas Day and the celebration of Christmas have anything to do with Christ the Lord? Question number 2. Was Jesus Christ born on December 25th? Question number 3. Is December 25th Christmas celebration a Christian or pagan festival? Question number 4. How did the celebration of Christmas originate? And finally, what should be the attitude of a child of God toward Christmas and Christmas celebration and observances? This last December, my inbox, my messaging inbox was full. Many people were sending seasonal greetings. Many were saying Merry Christmas. Some were saying, some that are in doubt or somehow, they will say compliment of the seasons. They didn't mention Christmas, but there is a season. And unfortunately, I received such text messages from some pastors of the Watchman. Pastors and the well-placed individuals who ought to be the people that will teach others now the principles of the oracles of God. If they be ignorant, is it not then the light that has turned to darkness? And Jesus says, if the light is now turned to darkness, how great will that darkness be? So, we want to ask the first question. Does Christmas Day and the celebration of Christmas relate to Christ? Does it have anything to do with Christ the Lord? The answer is this. Christmas Day and the celebration that take place today all over the world as Christmas have nothing to do with Jesus Christ, the Son of God. It has nothing to do with Jesus Christ, the Savior of the world. Instead, the celebration is a pagan feast. A feast christened Saturnalia in honor of the sun god, the god of the sun, S-U-N. This ancient pagan festival, practiced long ago, before Jesus Christ came into the world, was always done during the winter in the month of December, and it climaxes on December 25. A day in ancient times before Christ was observed as the birthday of Saul, S-O-L, the sun god. Before Jesus was born, for hundreds and thousands of years, this Christmas celebration had started. But the name it was called was not Christmas, because there was no Christ then. It was called Saturnalia, the celebration of Saturnalia. And it was done in the winter, in the month of December, and the climaxes on December 25. Because December 25, in ancient mythology, was the day noted as the birthday of Saul, the sun god. This celebration goes with a holiday. That day is declared public holiday from ancient times. And that public holiday is transferred to it in our present day. Most nations of the world, except very few, have public holiday on December 25 in our generation. And it goes with a holiday. It goes with giving of gifts and presents. Just like when the Jews celebrate the mowing down of Hammer in the Feast of Purim, they give gifts. They give presents to people. That is how the celebration of Saturnalia is characterized, by giving of presents. And that is why today, if somebody does not remember you during Christmas, that will be the forgotten memory that is too bad. During Christmas, many people endeavor to buy some things, clothes, and give to their kith and kin, buy rice and share, and all those things. This is part of the age-long celebration of Saturnalia in honor of the sun god. Presents are given, gifts are distributed. Decoration of the fair tree, F-I-R, is done, which today is known as the Christmas tree. But that was a tree that was an emblem of worship of Saul, the sun god. It was also characterized by the use of flowers and berries to decorate the fair tree. And there were dances and general cheerful and colorful festivities during the Saturnalia. This festival of Saturnalia in honor of Saul, the sun god, was so popular in ancient times that almost everyone in the Roman Empire was involved in it. The popularity of this celebration was just transferred into the Christian world, and without any fear of contradiction, the Christmas celebration is the most popular feast in the Christian world. When we were children, it was a period we were always looking up to. When we were children, when Christmas began to draw near, we were so excited. We were so happy. There was no dull moment in the life of any child at that time. You send the child a message, he will go eat 2 times because Christmas is coming. And everything, he wants to make the parents happy so that they will buy him what the things he's expecting. It's a very, very popular celebration in the Christian world today. That popularity was borrowed from the ancient feast of Saturnalia. Question number 2. Was Jesus Christ actually born on December 25th? The Julian calendar, which was modified by Gregory and is in use in all the world. Majority of the world makes use of the Julian calendar that was modified by Gregory. Now, in that calendar, it is generally designated that December 25 is the birthday of Jesus Christ. So, December 25 is usually stated to be Jesus' birthday. But this statement is not only false, but satanic. Jesus Christ was not born on December 25 and could not have been. The Bible clearly states that by the time Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, that there were shepherds in Palestine abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flocks by night. In Luke chapter 2 verse 8, we see this statement. Shepherds were outside, keeping watch over their flock. Throughout history, till now, no shepherd in Europe, whether it is Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Middle East Europe, no shepherd abides in the field by the month of December. In fact, from October ending, the winter begins. And if you have ever experienced the winter in Europe, you know that it is not friendly at all. It's not friendly. I had once gone to Europe during spring. By March, when the people were celebrated and they were saying that the place is so hot, but the thing dealt with me. The cold was unbearable. I came out and I was wearing about 3 or 4 coats, and I thought I was so prepared for it. Winter has gone, oh. This was around March. And the people some of them were even wearing ordinary shirts. But I had this suit on me. When I saw some of them jump out of the airport and went to the places they parked their cars, that particular day, I saw some things like a winged termite flying in the air. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know they were flakes of snow. I didn't know. That was my first time of seeing it. But people were just going, people with shirts like this and I said, these are not human beings. So I jumped into the place with them. But before I reached the car stand, my leg couldn't sense anything again. My hand was like it had been frozen for days. I would touch my hand, I couldn't feel anything again. The only savior I had was the moment I moved to the taxi and I told him where I was going. He was calling money. I didn't want to know how much he was calling. I entered. And then he put on the heater. And life came back to me. But that was by March, when winter had already ended. My son told me that in Ukraine, at the heat of winter, the temperature would reach minus 38 degrees Celsius. Ice block forms at minus 4. Ice block. But this one goes to minus 38. I asked our pastor in Canada. He told me that year it was minus 38 in Ukraine. They had minus 40 in Canada. So winter is not something that you can, it is like putting somebody into a deep freezer that has gathered ice block. In fact, that deep freezer, I wonder any deep freezer that can reach up to minus 15. Now, putting somebody in there. It is not possible for any shepherd to be outside during the winter. That's the bottom line. It's not possible. But the news of the birth of Jesus was given to shepherds by angels while they were abiding in the field with their flock, keeping watch over them. So it couldn't happen in December, brethren. Moreover, during the time Jesus was born, Joseph and Mary had gone to their native land, Bethlehem, to be registered. But because it was during the Feast of Tabernacles, all of Jerusalem and the neighboring towns were overflowing with guests. This was the reason there was no place in any inn for them to lodge, even in Bethlehem. And they had to lodge in an animal house, in a manger. That's the record of scriptures. When we visited Jerusalem, I think it was 2007, during that period, the program attracted people from all over the world. And Jerusalem was jam-packed with guests. We arrived not a number of days before the program like many people did. So when we came, there was no single space in any hotel in Jerusalem. It was in Bethlehem that we went to lodge. That was where we could find some spaces. Even there in Bethlehem, many places were fully taken. Corroborating the information that during the Feast of Tabernacles, when all the males of Israel from 20 years and above were required to be in Jerusalem, that there is usually no space in the inn, no space in the hotels. So, the Feast of Tabernacles from the Jewish calendar usually takes place in the 7th month. The 7th month of the Jewish calendar is September, October. The 7th month. I hope you remember that God told them that their own first month was going to be designated by their leaving Egypt, the Passover. The month they left Egypt was the month that was the beginning of months for them. So counting from there, the 7th month is September, October. So this Feast of Tabernacles that lay historians have written in their books, like Josephus, one of the major secular historians that is in the Jewish bloc. His works have been so useful in corroborating the account of the New Testament. He wrote concerning that year that Jesus was born, that it was during the Feast of Tabernacles that the people came, and the Roman authority had given instruction that people should go and register that they were doing a census, but they should go to their various native homes. That was what informed Joseph and Mary coming to their native home from the northern part that time. So, it is evident that Jesus Christ was born not on the month of December, but on the month of September, October. Whenever any person could locate the Feast of Tabernacles for that year, that was the time that Jesus was born. Because it was during that feast that he was born in the manger. It couldn't have been December. I think it is understood. Another question. Is Christmas celebration on December 25 a Christian festival? We have already said some things on it. The Christmas celebration on December 25 is not a Christian festival. It is an ancient pagan festival in honor of Saul, the sun god, commemorating his birthday in the old Roman Empire. It has been celebrated for several centuries before Jesus Christ was born. Both secular and religious historians have recorded this pagan festival, which was the most popular festival of all times. The Catholic Encyclopedia, the official historical book of the Roman Catholic Church, confirms this, and I quote, "The well-known solar feast of Natalis Invicti, in bracket, the nativity or birthday of the unconquerable sun god, is celebrated on December 25th. This is the record of Catholic Encyclopedia, Volume 3, page 727, under the article Christmas. So, it is not a Christian festival. It is a pagan festival. It is the name before was not Christmas. The name before was Saturnalia. And it is celebrated in honor of the sun god. And we have talked about the ingredients of the celebration, the giving of the gifts, the dances, the euphoria that goes with it, all the wearing of new dresses and all the orgies that are in it. Even the sexual orgies that characterize Christmas celebration in our generation was part of what was used to celebrate it. So, it is not a Christian festival. It is a pagan festival. It is an idolatrous festival. Now, how did the celebration of Christmas originate? In ancient Roman Empire, the worship of the sun god was central in the life of the Roman citizens because it is believed that the sun is the ultimate source of life. These ancient people believed that the sun god became a human being through a virgin mother and died and went to heaven. Thus, the mother and son religion developed around the sun god with different names in different tribes and different countries. We know that in ancient Babylon, the sun god is known as Tammuz, and the mother is known as Seminaris. In the present day UK and France, in ancient times they were known as the Druids. He is known as Vigo Partitura, or Mother of God. And in India, the mother is Isi and the son is Iswara. In Egypt, the mother is Isis and the son is Horus. In Ephesus, the mother is called Diana. In Acts of the Apostles, chapter 19 and verse 24, that one is captured there. In ancient Assyria, the mother was called the Queen of Heaven. In Jeremiah, chapter 7, verses 15 to 18 or thereabout. And in chapter 44, verses 17 to 19. All these pagan worships and their festivals began to be brought into the church from the time of the reign of Emperor Constantine the Great, about 300 years after the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Constantine had professed to have become converted to Christianity and had brought the Bishop of Rome and other Christian officers into his government and compromised them with money and power. A one-time president of America, the one that fought the war of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln, he once said that you don't understand or know the nature of human beings when they are in adversity. Say, if you want to prove the character of a man, it is not when he is in an adversity, but when you trust him with power. Say, when you trust a human being with power, you will now know his character. So, when they put the Bishop of Rome and the other pastors and other officers of the church in positions of authority and power, then they were corrupted. They put them in positions of influence and money. They became compromised. And gradually, the person that was paying the piper began to gradually call for the tune to play for him. And with time, a lot of compromises were sought and obtained. Because when the king professed conversion, almost every member of the Roman Empire became Christian. And they followed him. But none of them had encountered Christ. None of them had been genuinely born again. So they filled the churches, but they were still owing allegiance to their gods, to the point that from inside the Christian church, in early morning worship as they gathered, when the sun would appear from the east, they will turn their faces toward the window in the east, and they will bow to the sun god from inside the church auditorium. That was the kind of thing that began to happen. And so, in the process of time, Constantine left Rome and went to found another capital somewhere in present-day Turkey, Constantinople, and began to rule the empire from there. But he put the Bishop of Rome to take charge and represent him in Rome. Then the citizens, pagans that they were, they kicked, and they insisted that because the emperor was not just their king, he was a god in the Roman mythology. The king was a god and was treated as a god. The king was also their chief priest, the one adjudicating the affairs of all the gods, all the shrines. He was their chief priest in the land. So when he left and went to Constantinople and placed the Bishop of Rome there, the people kicked. They said, no, this person is a Christian. Now our gods, who will represent us, who will now be our chief priest, they now gave him either to abdicate the throne or to also accept to be the chief priest of the gods of Rome. They gave him the option because he had tasted power and he was interested in power. He needed to retain power. And the cost was he accepted to become the chief priest of the gods of Rome. And so he was officially given the pagan title which the kings, the emperors, used to have, that qualified them to be the chief priest of all the shrines, all the gods of Rome. The Pontifex Maximus, the supreme pontiff, the supreme high priest of the land. He accepted. And when he was accepted and was conferred with the title, he became not only the head of the Church of Christ in Rome, he also became the head of all the pagan shrines in Rome. He combined the two. And having combined the two, there was now need for a compromise from the left and from the right. For all the pagans to be converted to Christianity, you have to accommodate their culture, because pagan religion has to do with the culture of a people, the way of life. The religion of a people determine their way of life, determine the things they do and the things they don't do. So, to now carry on with such responsibility, he needed to bring the people to become one. Christians and their God, pagans and their gods came together. And that is what is known today as the Roman Catholic Church. The mixture of Christianity and paganism. That is how it began. So, the ceremony that was most popular, now all the celebrants are now in church. So it became a church affair. And they began to reason. Now, how do we package this thing to also fit the picture of the Christian church? These people are celebrating the sun god and her mother, or his mother. And his birthday is on December 25. And the thing is so popular and part of the fabrics of the people. Now, since Jesus Christ, our Savior, has a mother, and he was also reputed to have gone to heaven after he died, like that sun god in mythology was said to have gone to heaven after he died. The thing fixed, it fitted. So they now began the celebration of the birthday of Jesus, which the Bible didn't specify. It didn't talk about the exact date. It was not necessary. The book of Ecclesiastes has told us earlier that the day of a man's birth is not as important as the day of his death. He said the day of his death is more important than the day of his birth. And Jesus Christ, while he prescribed for us the celebrations, the feast, the kind of ceremonies to observe in church, he told us to observe, to commemorate the day of his death, often and again until he returns. But he never mentioned celebrating his birthday. He himself did not celebrate his birthday. What he celebrated was his death day. On that day when he took bread, and he blessed it, and he broke it, and he gave it to them, he said, "Take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you." And he took the cup, and he put the wine and drank it, and gave them to drink. He said, "This is the blood of the New Testament, which is shed for you for the remission of the sins of the world." He said that they should continue in that celebration to commemorate his death until he returns. That was what he gave us, the legacy he left. He didn't talk about his birthday. But now, because we needed to accommodate the pagans, they now said Jesus was born on December 25, and all the other things that are associated with it now was brought into the show. And they began. The thing was already popular. So transferring the popularity to this one, the church and every person, was very easy. It is like what happened to the New Yam Festival in my place. The New Yam Festival was a serious idolatrous thing before in my place. There is usually the shrine that is decorated during that period. Sacrifices are made in a particular community. When I was in secondary school, the chief priest of that shrine, that god, died. And the gods said the next person that should ascend to that position was a certain man. They named him. But that man had been ordained and become a Roman Catholic priest. He was already a Roman Catholic priest. But the god said that's the person to become the next priest for that shrine. Well, when the the mediums contacted him, there was nothing he could do. He now gave them a condition that they see now that he's already a priest of the Roman Catholic Church. Now, if he must accept this one, that they must bring it to the church. And they accepted. And the whole thing was brought to the church. And he now had some proxies that were representing him in the shrine, while the thing was now celebrated as mass in the church. Usually in my place, there is a traditional soup that is made with the tender leaves of cocoyam and some other ingredients. It's a traditional dainty. It is what is served during the feast of the god of harvest. It is that traditional soup. And every married woman in that community must cook this traditional soup and bring to the chief priest of that shrine, so that all the elders that will come, they will eat and feast with pounded yam. After that, they will now declare the other mortals free to eat yam without any consequence. Now, when this man, the Roman Catholic priest, assumed also the office of the priest of that shrine, and the thing was brought into the church, in the morning, instead of going to the shrine, they will gather, all the people will gather, and they will celebrate Mass. After the celebration, all the married women will cook the traditional soup and bring it to the father's house. Then in the evening, there is a traditional dance called Ebe dance. It is the chief priest that enters into the masquerade head and all the regalia and leads the dance. He is always in front. Then the elders will follow. Then the men will follow before women and children. And the thing is danced in the street and climax around the market. When they finish from the market, they will end it in the shrine. Now, all through the years that this Reverend Father was the chief priest of that shrine, he was the person that was entering into that masquerade. The person I'm talking about was in the secondary school where I was a student. I knew him too well. I knew him one-on-one. And what I'm talking about is not hearsay. This is what I know I saw in our community. Today, if children that were born after that time come to celebrate the New Yam Festival in that community, they will always tell you it's a church thing, because they were born to see the thing in the church. They were born to see that it is the priest that is in charge of this stuff. So if you are telling them that this is idolatrous, they will look at you as somebody that is just wanting to criticize. That is how this thing started of old. We are talking about what happened that I saw. But this one happened from 300 AD. Subtract 300 from 2020. You see it has lasted for 1,700 and something years. So many people don't know the origin. Many people are not interested in finding out how it started. They just were born into it and they saw it and they continued and they celebrate it as a Christian festival. But let me ask you, ignorance of what actually it represents, does it exonerate somebody that is participating in it? The book of Leviticus says, if a man does anything and contradicts any of the laws that God has given, he says, and he did it ignorantly. He didn't know it. He said, though he be ignorant, yet shall he be guilty and shall bear his iniquity. So ignorance is not an excuse before the judge. Even in secular law, nobody can come to the law court and say, I am sorry, I didn't know, I just needed a car to go somewhere, and I saw this one parked, and I just entered into it to go somewhere. Unfortunately, the key I had in my pocket was able to open it. So I carried it to go. So I didn't know it's an offense. That would be so ridiculous. That's not a plea. Somebody saying, I didn't know. This thing is against the Constitution. It's against the law of the land. It is never admitted as an excuse before the law. Am I right? Therefore, you are given to know. The Constitution of the land is there. You can walk into any bookshop, buy and read, and know what is expected of you. The Constitution of God is the Bible, and you are carrying it in your hand. You are supposed to read it and know what is lawful and what is not lawful. So that you didn't know does not exonerate you. But thank God today, those of us that maybe didn't know, I know many of us know, we are just reminding ourselves, especially in these days, that we have gained acceptance. So that we don't walk in the euphoria of the acceptance and the things they are telling us, look, without you, we cannot convene this meeting. Without you, just come now, come and bless us and all that. We go in the euphoria that we are now reigning, and we follow them to the grave. So, it is necessary that we should recognize that the Christmas celebration is not a Christian festival. Now, what should then be the attitude of a child of God toward Christmas? What should be the attitude? In Exodus chapter 19 and verse 5, Exodus 19, verse 5. Now, therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. And Moses came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before their faces all these words which the Lord commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, all that the Lord has spoken, we will do. And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord. What are we taking from there? You said, verse 6 says, you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and holy nation, separate, peculiar. You shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all the people that are found in the world. God has taken up the people that are covenanted with him by the new birth, the people that are covenanted with him as unto himself. They are peculiar, they are distinct, they are separate from the rest of the people of the world. And any attempt to jeopardize this distinction, God does not tolerate. What was the trouble of Saul during the time of Samuel? What was the trouble of the people of Israel when they chose a king for themselves? They came to Samuel. We see that your children are not following your footsteps. We observe that they have different lifestyles. So we cannot find ourselves coming under them. They will not be able to receive from God and give us. Now we want to request, make us a king, that we be like other nations of the earth. This thing was irksome to Samuel. He tried to persuade them, but said, no, Don't persuade us. Make us a king, that we may be like other nations. When Samuel was crying because the people were hell-bent on having a king, they were hell-bent on being like other nations, Samuel began to cry in the night. And God woke him up and said, clean your eyes. Why are you troubling yourself? They did not reject you by what they have said. They rejected me. In other words, any decision, any attempt for any child of God to go be like other people, other nations, to be like the world, tantamounts to a rejection of God. God told Samuel, don't bother yourself. They didn't reject you by desiring to be like other nations. It is me they rejected. So, give them a king after their desire. They have rejected me. It's a serious matter. Firstly, it is a condition for being accepted as a son or daughter. We saw it in 2 Corinthians 6. He says, wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. That means, if you do this much, I will receive you. We also see, if you're already a son or a daughter, a condition will qualify you for being expunged from God. Something will happen. If you desire to be like other nations, to be like the world, if you want to be like them, you want to identify with their lifestyle, with their relationships, with their mannerisms, with their slogans, with all the jargons that they pick. You know, the youth of the Watchman, majority of them, if they want to talk about, if they want to talk about a boy, you know what they will say? That guy. That guy. I was a youth when I came to Christ, when I repented in this church. There were some slangs that were strange to us. But today, the demarcation is fast broken. Just interact with any of them. Maybe when we go on break, just go engage any of the choir youths, any of the people there. Yes. He will tell you that guy. Their mannerisms, their slangs, their way of dressing, their way of thought. Listen, brethren, there are two kingdoms that are fighting to gain control of your life. The kingdom of God and the kingdom of Satan. It is the kingdom of Satan, with Satan as the head, that has the value system of Satan, that has the things that his thoughts, his thought pattern, his value system, his ways of doing things. Because for him, white is black and black is white. And that's the reason today's fashion, good is evil, evil is good. Decent something is now not decent. So if you buy a dress, if it is a skirt, you have to tear it and patch it. You have to use bleach and make it dirty, nasty. Before, when you are wearing dress and the thing washes off, it becomes worn out. You do what? But now, if you go to the factory, they will use some means to make it worn out, to make it look old and, nasty. Then the price will be higher than the other one. Good is evil. Evil is good. That's the kingdom of Satan. Yes. Grace is given by God. The scripture says 3 reasons for covering our nakedness. Number 2, for glory, to make you look responsible. For glory, for gravity, for you to look grave and responsible. There is a dress you will wear and you will look irresponsible. God gave us dress to cover our nakedness and to look responsible in it. But the majority of the world are wearing dresses that make them look irresponsible. Even married women that are pregnant, heavy. You will see the kind of dress they will wear, and you begin to wonder, did this person suck her mother's breast? But that is what is on. That's what is reigning. So everybody wants to get involved, including watchmen. In the hairstyles, that is where the people of the world, they are leading the trail. They are the people that are championing. They will go, the devil will give them a style. He will give them a material, and they will come, use a popular person to now popularize it, to advertise it, to model it. Then everybody will begin to look for it. Harlots will be wearing that kind of hairdo. The ones that are doing harlotry from their father's houses will be wearing that kind of hairdo. The ones that are doing harlotry from the schools, from the universities, will be wearing that kind of hairdo. Married women and all that. And the Christians will be wearing that kind of hairdo. And lastly, watchmen are now wearing that kind of hairdo. It's a very ugly development. When somebody begins to put on, they say, this one is shoemaker thread. This one is ordinary cord. How about this one is just wool? And they gather all those things, and then the hair that is 6 inches is now 18 inches. And they do it, and as they are going, they look at it, they do like this, and just like every other person in the street is so fulfilled, that is how they are fulfilled. That is how they are happy. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, and touch not the unclean thing, and I, God, will receive you, and be your father, and you be my sons and daughters. But if you don't come out from among them, you will know the consequence. The opposite will happen. He will not receive. So, it is necessary. Somebody will ask me, but where is it written in the Bible, thou shalt not plait with wool? Where is it written? And all that. But Jesus has the answer. In Luke chapter 16, verse 15, he says, don't mind them. They are the people that justify themselves. But God knows their heart. He says, everything that is highly esteemed among men is abomination in the sight of God. That's the thing. So that hairdo, I want to ask you, who originated it? Who is popularizing it? Is it popular among men? By men, it's people of the world. Is it popular among the people of the world? If it is popular, it's abominable in the sight of God. That's Jesus. It's not even an angel or a minister that says, Jesus himself. Ask yourself, this particular way I am doing it, is it popular among the world? If it is, forget it. God is not interested. It's abominable in his sight. Time has come because we are about to break into the greatest revival in the Christian era. We are about to get into a time when all that the Lord has promised us, which he has declared now and again through his servant, will come to pass. He said, the watchman is the White House of the world. Did you hear it? He said, I have made every watchman a miracle worker. Did you hear it? He said, special miracles at this end time is reserved for watchmen. Did you hear it? And we have an understanding that God has spoken through his servant that this movement will rock the world. Did you hear it? And he said, I will bring you into that for which I called you. And I will bring you into that without measure. Now listen to me. The time for the fulfillment of these things is now. We have entered into the period, the day of the Lord proper. And it is a day that is characterized by a lot of good and evil. Read the lip declaration again. Those that will believe it and align themselves with the visioner, they will receive the things that God has promised. Good will be their lot. Those that will rebel, those that will just take it as one of those things and continue their lives the way they have been going, continue to live as they like, then the things that God has said he will do to deal with them is just by the corner. For me, I can't visualize myself having run this race over these many years, reaching the point of just one step and the matter is over. I will now be found by the side of the road. God forbids. We have come a long way, brethren. And so we need to clean our eyes well, remove every log, remove everything that is covering our eyes, lest after we will have preached to others, after we will have saved others, we become cast away. We need to be sure that we are not allowing the devil upper hand in our lives. By the time they are calling you and they say, come, if you don't want, now come be our chairman at at the kindred meeting. Come and be our chairman. If anyhow you want to rule us, you rule. But there are ways and there are guidelines. There are things that, you know, this is our omenala. This is the way we do it. And then you say no. They will find a way of convincing you and you will do it. Okay, just don't worry. We will not bother you with it. Only during that time, you give us money from the purse. Of course, they will go and do the same sacrifice and finish everything, but in your name. You need to be careful. It is time that you are accepted, the time of honor, the time of affluence. That is the time of crashing. Let him that thinketh he standeth take heed lest he falls. So, you must stay clear. It doesn't matter who wishes me Merry Christmas. I will ask him, which Christmas? I don't accept it. I don't associate with it. In fact, because rice is the common food on December 25, you hardly eat rice in my house on December 25. I may eat it any other day. I want to disassociate myself completely from it. If there are new dresses, if I travel and I bought new dresses for any person, I won't give it during that period. This is January, I can give it. If you didn't wear dress in November, wear it in January. Is it not new dress? I want to disassociate myself. Do you know why? Our vines have tender grapes. Little foxes can spoil the vine. I am done.